Tell me, how long are we supposed to act like this? We won't never get on track like this. How can I ever tell you how I feel if you react like this? You call me over here to talk, not get attacked like this. It's funny, got your track shoes on, but what you running from? Should I know where you going and where you coming from? That's immaturity showing, it's just the baby in you. One of the reasons why I never...
Okay, let's talk 28 Secrets with Natasha and Ronnie Beth. The question of today is, are there red flags in a relationship? Do you recognize them within 90 days? And do you think that a person can go longer than 90 days without revealing their true colors? What do you think, Ronnie Beth?
I feel like there's always red flags in a relationship to let you know up front that there's going to be certain aspects of a person that you know whether or not you can deal with up front long term.
So do you think that a person can go longer than 90 days without revealing who they truly are? Do you think that there are some people in this world that are really that manipulative that can go longer than 90 days without... So, for example, I have a pet peeve. There are some things that really, really irk me. And you might do it one time and I'll just be like, oh, okay. But then if you do that 2 or 3 more times, then I'm going to show you who I truly am. I'm going to probably spaz out. Mm-hmm. So do you think that within 90 days you know?
Off the top. Because there's certain things about a person that will get on your nerves. And there's only so many times that you're going to be able to do that to somebody or do something around them before they tick. You know what I mean? Like, you could just be chomping on ice, and that's a pet peeve of mine. But at the beginning, I'm trying to play it off as cool because I know it's a really petty pet peeve.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then eventually I'm going to be like, hey, if you chomp on that ice again, I'm going to take it and I'm going to throw it out. Like,
right.
And we're done about it.
So, what are some of the red flags that you've seen when you were dating? Can you give an example of that?
Well, I can tell you that certain things that a person, like, they'll manipulate situations, like, to make you think that whatever they're the better benefit of you when really it's for the better benefit of themselves. Like, okay, for example, really I don't want to put this on social media right now just because, you know, people like to hate and they'll start saying, you know, that I'm out here talking to this person and that person just because they don't want to see us together. That's a manipulation.
Right.
Because for one, what I'm seeing is you're telling me to keep me a secret.
Red flags.
Red flag.
So, guys, thank you, listen, for joining us. This is just a new little talk that Beth and I are doing. It's called 28 Secrets. We're both 28 years old. We've been best friends for 19 years. And we always have these really, really deep discussions about breakups, makeups, money, drama, sex, love, lies. And we would like to include you all in our talks. You know, we would like you to reach out to us. If you can answer our question of the day, are there red flags? Have you ever seen any red flags in your previous relationships? Do you think that a person can be, are they going to reveal their true colors within 90 days? Do you think that some people take longer? I know that I was watching something on TV, and after 20 or 30 years of marriage, the husband killed the wife. And, you know, there was never a red flag. So sometimes are we blinded to those red flags, Beth? Do you think that we're blinded to those? Or
I feel like you always want to see the charming side of someone. However, I feel like women have intuition for a reason. Mm-hmm. If something doesn't feel right, 9 times out of 10 it's not right.
Right.
You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, you can't sit here and tell me that lady that got killed never had some kind of inclination as to her husband being any kind of other way.
So you think that there's no way she didn't know?
There's no way that she didn't know he had some different type of side to him.
So
unless he's like some kind of really good sociopath or some type of bullshit like that.
So basically, there's always signs.
There's always signs, but we ignore them because we'd rather believe that this person is really as great as they claim to be rather than see them for the bullshit that they really are.
Okay, so like my grandma used to say, you know what I mean? Basically, you have to show me. You can't tell me anything.
You can't tell me anything. You have to show me everything.
Words mean nothing. And another thing I wanted to talk...
But words also mean everything.
That's what I was going to say. Another thing I wanted to talk about today is the verbal abuse that comes up early on in a relationship. Things that you normally don't like to be called, that they know you don't like to be called. You know what I mean? And they'll call you those names, or little... Beth, you know what I'm talking
I know exactly
about.
What
okay.
You're talking about. Like, you know for a fact that I don't like to be disrespected.
Right.
And called a bitch or something.
Right.
So, in a plain around way, you'll call me a bitch even though you know that gets on my nerves and you know it pisses me off. And you know I really feel disrespected when you do it. But you do it anyway because you want to see how far you can push me.
Right.
So then if I let it slide that you're calling me a bitch, then what's next?
Okay, so then the question is, when the relationships go sour, should we blame the other party or do we blame ourselves? Because if you're saying there's always red flags, but see...
It depends on what role you're playing in that relationship. Because I feel like everybody knows what position they're playing. However, you have to agree upon those positions. You know what I mean?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
I understand that you're saying. Play your position.
Play your position.
Period. You have to play
an understanding.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
But see, I'm one of those kind of women, I don't believe there is a position. I believe that any position you want is your position.
Right.
I'm that kind of woman.
Right.
So a man and I we might bump heads off top just because I don't have a position to play. My position is whatever position I want.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I choose my position. So with that being said, I might not necessarily agree with that, but what I do think is that we make our own choices.
Yeah.
We do make our own choices. And I do think that people show us who they really are. If you think back to any relationship you've ever been in, within 3 months, they've shown you who they really are. You can think back to one time, and you'll ignore it because you want it to be like
this is the biggest thing. This is my biggest thing. However much time you spent with me getting to know me. However much time you spend getting to know me, like, eventually it's gonna start declining. Like, you're gonna start spending less time with me and less time with me and less time with me.
So do they get bored?
Well, this is the thing. Whenever you have to second guess where your place is with somebody, like, because they're not giving you enough time.
Then you have a place.
Do you even have a place? Because people make time for what they want to make time for, and at the end of the day, you would have been a priority.
Right.
You would have been. Because you always made it a priority in the beginning because you wanted my attention and I was a chase for you. Now that I'm becoming more available to you because I'm starting to trust you, now you want to pull yourself away.
I like that.
But that's what it is.
That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing.
It's a cat and mouse type of game. Like, we're always going to be chasing each other because as soon as I start backing off, because you're making me feel like I can't trust you now. Like, you're showing me the other side of yourself.
Yeah.
Well, now that I feel that way, I'm going to go my way. And then you're going to have to chase me. And then as soon as you get me back and you get comfortable, you're going to make me chase you again.
Okay, so let's get to that next question then. So what happens in your relationship with the opposite sex that makes you change your mind about them? Okay, you can go from having it all. Let me say this, okay, and hear me out when I say this. You can go from having everything. You can go from being so in love like you don't see nobody else. Really, I seen this meme on Facebook, and it goes from nothing me baby to, you know what I mean, blocked on everything on social media. Exactly. So
yeah.
At what point do you go from that to that? Like,
right.
At what happens? What does the other opposite sex do? And this is for the, ladies and the guys. And we're going to have guy talk next week, by the way. So stay tuned for that. But what happens in the middle of your, relationship? What changes that makes you go, you know what?
Really? I'm not feeling that. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't see this as being a long term. Like, I'm bored already.
Right.
Basically.
So are we in a freaking generation that just gets bored of everything?
Yes.
Because, that's what I'm starting to realize.
You're never satisfied.
Never satisfied.
You feel like somebody can always be better than whoever you're with.
And that's because we're in a generation where people are not being themselves. People are spending money on, that's going to be another topic that we talk about, being somebody they're not. Like, you know what I mean?
You're
and
trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Exactly, you know, and so you don't have to put up with old Sally with the same freaking hairdo every because
Right.
you can go get whoever else and whatever, you know, because
well, we're in a generation of social media, so you can be whoever the fuck you want to be. Basically, whether you're that person or not, only you and the Lord know.
Well, you and the Lord and everybody else around your dumb ass.
Because they know
you're
that
not
you're
fooling
putting on a
anybody
show,
else.
right? But I'm just saying, like, you can try to be whoever you want to be,
right?
Like, I'm just Beth the barber. However, I could be Beth the Billy badass. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Oh, I'm a gangster. I'm out here fighting. No, it's not even like that. That's dumb. But that's what people can put on for you.
So basically, social media does that. So
social media is our generation's problem, period. When it comes to relationships and everything else. Because for one, whenever you have social media and you're in a relationship, let a bitch like my man's pick and do it excessively. I'm going to be like, hey, is there a problem? Like, who are you?
And put the googly eyes on there and you be like, googly eyed what?
Googly eyed what? Like, what are you here
Shout
for?
out to Vizzy on that because she did say googly eyed what? And I'm like, you know.
With the hard eyes and shit. You know what I mean? You can't go too far.
Don't go too far
But then when you question them, they're all like, oh, well, that ain't nothing. But let a dude be on my stuff.
And boom.
Boy, we're about to have World War fucking 5 up in this bitch.
Exactly. So
3, 4, 5.
So basically, are you saying that men get by with things that women don't?
Yes.
Because are you saying that basically? Okay.
They push the limits more than we do.
For example, a woman who is emotionally detached. We talked about this before.
Yes.
Is called a hoe. A man who is emotionally detached and just wants to have sex is called a player.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, yes, we do kind of categorize different people different ways.
Yeah.
So that's just what society has done. You know what I mean? It's okay for a man to do certain things, and it's not okay for a woman. Anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in with us on our first show. We're going to be doing God Talk next week. We're going to be doing other shows. Please join us back. Please follow us on our Instagrams and answer our questions. Do you think there are red flags in a relationship within the first 90 days? If so, what are they? And have you ever experienced anything like this? So, Beth, do you have anything else to say before we?
I do. So basically, it's been said to me multiple times that if you can fuck in a week, then they don't want you. Now, there's some great truth to that. Only for the simple fact that if it's easy and you don't have to play hard to get, then okay, well, then who else did you do that for?
Right.
You know what I mean? So how easy are you? But then you have women who do have the dude mentality, who really are on the same level. Like, you know what? Dudes are always using us for sex. Well, you know what? Let me just use you for sex instead. You know what I mean? Like, you have women like that. But like you said, they're considered hoes. Mm-hmm. When really, they're just playing the game. It's a double standard because they're just playing the game the same way you play it, except better.
So, guys, what do you have to say about that? We would love your feedback. Love your feedback on that for the women who feel like that's a double standard, to be, called a hoe, and you're out here doing the same thing. And also, another thing we would like to know about is what happened. What happened in the generational gap between our grandparents and us? Like, why don't you guys want to date us anymore? Why would you rather spend time? Ooh, we'll say this one for guy talk. Why would you rather spend times with your homies than your girlfriend?
Right.
And that's what we're trying to figure out.
Well, because when you're with your homies, you're chasing other females.
Exactly.
Because, like I said, you're never satisfied. You always think there's something better out there. So, well, okay, I got you at home. You're cooking and cleaning and chilling, and you ain't out in the public. You're not getting looked at right now. So I know you're safe. You're at home.
You're going to be home
But I'm
anyway.
going to be out here in these streets, and I'm going to be seeing who else I can get on. Because really, you're the whole package, but she might be too.
And I want to just make sure before
I just want to make sure before I wife you. So let me waste your time 2018. You know what I mean? That's pretty much the mentality of it these days.
And guys, just want to leave you with this. You know what the Bible said about finding a man that finds a good woman and find a good thing. So you guys better stop, taking good women for granted. And really, same thing with women. There are some women out here in this world that take good men for granted. Mm-hmm. Really, and that leave good women sitting